All right, so this is an interesting subject, and something I want to put my take in. The subject is called the video is called "What Happened to DC Animated Movies," and it's by Andy M. Lee. Here we go. I'll put the original video in the description below. But this is I don't even know where he's gonna go with this, but I will say this has been a subject for a while, ever since Apocalyptic War on Justice League Dark Apocalyptic War, and they changed the art style and the way they went with the stories, and people have not been rocking with it. They've been saying that they downgraded with the art, that the stories is not as compelling as the previous. Like the new 52 introduction was way better than this new direction they're going. It was a lot of backlash with this new style, especially with the Infinite Crisis. I'll put it to you this way: for me, as a huge DC fan, and I collect all these movies. I watch them. I'm a fan. Honestly, I believe a lot of these DC movies are better than these live action DC movies. But that's another conversation for a different day. But I see what they're saying to a certain degree. I don't believe they downgraded with the art. I think they just went a different direction. I thought the art was still good. Like when you look at the Long Halloween, other different projects that happened after Apocalyptic War, I would say the one thing that I won't call it downgraded, but it actually is downgraded, is a lot of the stories when it comes to these animated movies compared to the one before the ending of Apocalyptic War. I never thought that the art style was different, and I do like the previous direction they went for better, but I never called it and never thought it was a downgrade. I just thought, they wanted to do a different art style, considering Flash did a Flashpoint, and so they wanted to change everything. Like they changed the stories, including the artwork. In my mind, that's what I thought they was going. It did shock me at first. I was like, this is different. But then I'm like, I guess with the whole Flashpoint, what Constantine had Flash do, they was like, you know what, let's change a lot of stuff here. Let's change a lot of stuff. Let's even change the art style. And to us, I mean, I did like it. I'm not even going to front. I was one of the people that liked it. I had no problem with it. It wasn't better than what was. I wish they stayed the way that it was, but I never thought it was a downgrade. Story-wise, though, there are some that was like, okay, that was good, like the Halloween and some other ones. But there are a lot more mid to stories in this universe, I guess you want to call it, more than it was in the previous one. So I'm interested to see where he goes with it, because it what happened to DC animated movies. But this is the conversation that was given to me, because I had some friends tell me, like, are you enjoying any of these new ones? And I'm like, yeah, to a certain degree. Some of them I'm like, why did you make this? But you want to try something, why not? But I do agree that the previous one, before Flash did his Flashpoint, before he fixed the timeline again, I do believe those were a lot better. Not just art style, but stories, everything. There's a lot of underrated ones that people that missed out, including like Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay, or Batman, Bad Blood, I think it's called. Bad Blood? I think it's called Bad Blood. But in all, that whole universe was beautiful. And I respect DC for going all in on their end game with Darkseid. I tip my hat to them. Justice League Dark Apocalyptic War is going to be known as one of the greatest DC movies, animated or live action, ever. They crossed lines that only comics did. I always tell people, if you're too soft with your superheroes, you don't like seeing them die or get beaten, bruised, brutally beaten and stuff like that, this is not the movie for you. They went all in on that one. Anybody was open to die, and I can respect them, and it made sense. They didn't just do it for shock value. They did it in a way where it made sense, and there was some. That one with Shazam. That was Batgirl. Oh my goodness, bro. Poor Batgirl. She lasted longer though than I ain't gonna front. She lasted a long time for a human, but her and Shazam, that last scream he had when he knew he was about to die, and he yelled Shazam one more time. I was like, boy. But overall, the movie was really good. I love how they how Raven and Robin was a big deal. Speaking of which, what they did with the Teen Titans, I will say this: if you grew up with the Teen Titans TV show, some people might get traumatized seeing that Apocalyptic War, but that's a conversation for a different day. They did a great job story wise, beginning, middle, and end. They ended it on we won, but we got to change something, and which made Flash do his like I guess you call it Flashpoint, whatever, which then made this new universe. I personally don't have a huge problem with it. I just wish they had better storytelling. I think that was the biggest fail to me, was the storytelling was not up to par like it used to be. But let's see what he has to offer. I'll put the original video in the description below.
I couldn't resist, okay? I'm sorry, but I have to make a video about this. Are we talking about DC's recent slate of animated movies called the Tomorrowverse? If you don't know
Tomorrowverse, what they call it.
Let me quickly catch you up. So back in the 90s, we got Batman the Animated Series, critically revered, the first of its kind,
classic. Rest in peace,
so in the
Kevin
same
Conroy.
universe as that, we also got other shows like Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, and
Classics.
of course, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
What gave me away?
You overplayed your part,
yo.
And while we did get some new bits and pieces that was supposedly part of that universe, it's mainly finished. So going from that, we got some DC animated movies that were usually independent and self-contained, and were mostly banger after banger. From this line, we got movies like Batman Under the Red Hood,
Classic.
Justice League Doom, and Batman Superman Public Enemies.
Love
all
it.
different art styles, all different voice casts, whatever. But since every studio in the early 2010s wanted that Marvel money, DC was like, hey, while we get this movie shit off the ground with Man of Steel, let's do the same thing with our animated movies. So that's exactly what they did. They released Justice League Flashpoint Paradox.
Classic.
To specifically say, we're starting this new line of movies where you can actually grow attached to these characters and they grow and change over these movies. When Flashpoint Paradox came out, it was collectively revered as a certified banger.
Yes.
It was a self-contained Justice League story for the fans that had great action, high stakes, and Batman crying. Like, come on, that's emotional. We also got some really chunky necks on those guys.
That's true. That is true.
We're sure as hell not going to be able to choke any of them. Anyways, the universe is reset by the Flash, aka Barry Allen, because he can't stop fucking the timeline. So this is where the DC AMU started, the DC Animated Movie Universe. We see the formation of the Justice League, which was loosely based on the New 52 reboot that was happening in the comics at the time. And we have some good adaptations of stories. We got Bitch Boy Robin, we got Pedo Deathstroke, and we got Death of Superman. Yes, there was kind of a Death of Superman way before this one, but it didn't really capture the essence of Superman dying and coming back. I also watched that first movie as a kid because my mom just saw Superman and just downloaded it from a dodgy site with Korean subtitles. Yeah, it was pretty violent.
Goodbye.
Anyway, so these movies started coming out all with the same voice cast, the same art style, and the same character profiles. That was until they decided to Game of Thrones this motherfucker hardcore. This franchise's final movie was Justice League Apokolips War, and if you've seen it, you know that it's pretty damn crazy.
Yes.
I'm not gonna spoil what happens, but if you genuinely fell in love with these characters over the course of however many movies, prepare to book
and they make a lot of movies in this universe to where you go attached to them. And then that movie came out, and it made you, it basically told you, we don't care how attached you are to them. Look what we about to do to them. And I respect that, because if you read comics, I mean, situations that they're in, they can't have plot armor to save. That's actually that's a good point to make right there. This movie is what happens when you don't have a lot of plot armor saving you. That's a great example of Apocalyptic War. That's a movie where the writers was like, you want to see what it looks like when your heroes don't have tons of plot armor? Here's what it looks like. The bad guys are actually tougher than you think. Put Darkseid's villains against the Teen Titans. In the WB TV show, they would have found a way to win because of all the plot armor. In this rated R version, here's what it actually looks like. And you can put it together what it looks like, or you just watch the movie yourself.
And that's why this video sponsor is BetterHelp. I'm kidding. By the way, apparently that company is really shady and unethical, so I encourage you to stay away from them. And yes, I probably just sacrificed any chance of being sponsored by them in the future. You're welcome. So this movie ends with Flash traveling in time, and lo and behold, The universe is reset.
Yep, that's what I was talking about.
New actors, new stories, new
style.
We're starting fresh. So this new slate of movies, it started pretty good. The first movie was Superman Man of Tomorrow, which was why this universe was called the Tomorrowverse. Darren Criss voiced Superman, Alexandra Daddario voiced Lois Lane, and Zachary Quinto voiced Lex Luthor. Pretty
Oh, I didn't know that.
Also, Jason Todd, aka Soldier Boy, aka that one guy from Supernatural, voices Batman. That's pretty sick. So after this movie, we get a Justice Society movie, and we get a Batman Long
I enjoyed that one.
two-parter.
Yeah, I love that
Pretty
movie.
decent. They were also playing the formation of the Justice League in this era. They were teasing at it, but then, oh my god. Guys, fair warning, the positivity stops here. If you like the Tomorrowverse movies, I suggest you click away. Green Lantern Beware My Power came out. I don't know what it is with Green Lantern and his shit ass luck with movies, but this movie was goddamn terrible.
I enjoyed it. It wasn't amazing, but I enjoyed it.
I was excited for a Jon Stewart Green Lantern focused movie, but to put it simply, this movie was fucking ass. I gave it 1 star out of 5 on my Letterboxd. You know what else I gave it 1 star on there? Madam Web, Morbius. This shit was genuinely so fucking garbage. There was nothing I liked about it except the character design. The animation, shit. The voice acting, shit. The story,
I gotta watch it again. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of a different Green Lantern movie,
really
but
wasn't. Also,
I
tell
don't
me
think
why
so.
all of a sudden the Justice League is a huge roster with the Watchtower in space. What the? When did this happen? Every movie following
I actually
this
like
was
that. I'm
also
tired of them always
shit.
bringing them
And I'm
together.
sorry,
Just have a
but if
story
you work
where
on
they're
these
already
movies,
there.
I'm sure it's not your fault. There were probably time restraints, studio mandates, and awful creative decisions made by people who usually write bank statements instead of scripts. But this movie really highlighted the bone I pick with animated
I didn't
projects
think it was a
nowadays,
problem.
and that's traditional actors taking the jobs of professional voice actors. It's genuinely fucking bullshit. It's not just about, oh, I can sound like an elf. Usually, these voice actors slam dunk on these traditional acting bitches with how they project their voice and emotions. And I know it's usually
ain't that
for marketing
serious,
purposes
dude.
to say like, hey, we got this famous person voice acting in this movie, but these movies are straight to home release. Who the fuck cares? Get the people who have been training their whole lives to act in this shit. And I know if I take a step back and realize that I'm just yelling about a bunch of superhero cartoon movies, I know I'm a fucking crazy person. But right now, I'm trying to save an entire sector of the acting industry here. Do you think any of the live action Spider-Man actors could do a voice acting like this?
No, you're wrong. You are everything I wanted to be. You just threw it away.
It's not even fair, right? Anyway, my point is, for the most of the main cast in these movies, they're just regular actors who have been terribly miscast. Not because of their lack of skill as an actor, but because voice acting is a completely different animal.
It is a different animal.
You have your face, you have your hands, you have your body, you have your eyes to portray emotion. Do you know what a voice actor has? It's not the same. Okay, I'm done with the voice acting thing. Let's move on. The next few movies in this Tomorrowverse, if you follow my letterbox, you will know that these movies are not exactly the most riveting pieces of cinema either. Legion of Superheroes, dude. I watched this in the
I enjoyed that. I thought that was good. It wasn't amazing. Like again, it wasn't amazing, but it was still good.
Is insane. I swear these strips would have had to be made in the 48-hour turnaround because Jesus Christ. And you know what consistently bothers me about these movies? They're so terribly edited. Warning, once I point this out, you will not be able to unsee this in any of the movies. Between lines of dialogue, there will just be the most random pauses that will just kill the flow of the conversation so hard. This was driving me fucking insane. So you're suggesting we head to the Watchtower? Yes, I believe that is the best plan of action.
You made some kind of deal with that monster.
Wrong.
The amount of times this would happen. Oh my god.
I don't think that was that bad. Maybe I'm just looking at it wrong.
Every time there was short of 2 minutes.
Everybody has their
so
opinion.
just
I just
took
don't think it was
the
that serious.
faces
Like his
throughout the
pause,
movie. Alright, let's
his pause and the video that he just showed pause was totally different. Not totally, but was the time was different. He paused like this. Hey y'all. How are you? They showed the clip. Hey y'all. How you doing? It was like, I don't know. It just, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I could be wrong.
Justice League War World. Clearly 4 different people wanted to write 4 different movies, and only one of them were interested in making anything.
I will admit
remotely
that
close
could have been a
to
lot
Justice
better.
League
That
story.
was
By the way,
mid.
it's called Justice League War World, but be ready
That
to
could have been a
see
whole
4
lot better. I ain't
members
gonna front. I was
match.
excited
And
for that
if you're tuning
movie
in to
and
see
then
Batman,
it
Superman,
left
and Wonder
disappointed.
Woman being, I don't know, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, be ready to skip to the last 30 minutes.
Yeah,
of this movie.
I do agree to
Here we
that.
are at Crisis at Infinite Earths, arguably the biggest DC event that you could possibly adapt. And this happens, let me check. 4 years after the first movie. Nice. That's like having Avengers Secret Wars instead of the first Avengers movie. What the fuck is happening here? Well, since it's such a big scale event, thank God we got 3 parts to fit it all in, right? Wrong. The complete fucking opposite, man. The complete fucking opposite. If you took all the parts in these movies that genuinely contributed to the plot, it would probably make like 70 minutes in total. And that's being generous. Literally the one good thing we got out of these 3 movies was Kevin Conroy returning for his final lines as Batman, and possibly the most badass final lines you could ever give to a Batman voice actor.
I care, Joker. About Gotham. About justice. And if it has to end, at least I go out like this. Being Batman.
Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy.
Yeah,
I'm
rest
happy
in
your
peace,
final
man.
lines were badass as hell, but I'm sorry that your final projects were either between Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, or this
Now that's an
shitty
insult.
pile shit of a movie. I know people hate on the Arrowverse sometimes, but I was a big fan. And their Crisis on Infinite Earths event, it wasn't the best crossover.
Nah, I was
they've
not
done,
a
but
fan
at
of the
least it was a
Arrowverse.
single cohesive story.
I thought that was cool to show Ezra Miller's Flash, and actually I was about to say that too. How they show Lucifer, like me and Constantine. I thought that was clever, but for the most part, Arrowverse it just wasn't for me. I'm not gonna say it was garbage. It just wasn't for me. I would watch the Tomorrowverse over that.
This shit though, this shit, bro. Why am I spending 20 minutes watching the Justice League herd and capture dinosaurs? I don't give a fuck. Even an awesome premise like that, and they somehow managed to ruin it. So now the universe is reset, and you can assume that it's James Gunn's new DCU, because apparently all the animated projects are now going to be canon or something. Dude, I cannot get over how badly they fumbled these movies. I know some of you might really like these movies, and I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but everyone's...
Nah, it's everybody's
Oh my
entitled to their
God, it's
opinion.
funny
I
how
just
in
didn't
the
expect it to
past
go that
they used
hard.
Say that the one thing you can count on DC to beat Marvel at is animation. But now, just looking at one still frame from X-Men 97, that alone is probably more entertaining than watching any of these piece of shit recent movies. Alright, I'm done. That's all for this week. Check out my second channel for random vlogs.
Nah,
Check out my
DC
Instagram,
animation.
check out my music. Check out...
No, that is a fact though. DC animation does beat Marvel. We can't just look at X-Men 97 and think, oh, it's better than DC. No. As a whole, DC is better in the animation department. In live action, outside of Batman movies, Marvel has been better. Well, I ain't gonna separate back because Batman is part of DC. As a whole, DC is not better than Marvel in live action. I'm hoping James Gunn can fix that because I'm more of a DC fan than Marvel fan. I love them both, but I'm more of a DC fan. I would love to see DC on top in the live action for once, and stay there for a while. But yeah, animation, DC's been the top for a while. Even if you don't like the Tomorrowverse, before all that, they made so many hits that the Tomorrowverse is just a little slap on the wrist. I mean, it's nothing. But I'll put his original video in the description below. Adam M. Lee, and do I like it? Like I said, I don't really agree to everything he's talking about, but I do respect his opinion. That's his opinion on it. And yeah, I mean, and I see some of his points. And yeah, I don't know. I like the Tomorrowverse better than he did. Did I love it? No. There are some projects I love, but as a whole, no. I do like the previous universe before Flash changed it a lot better. And hopefully, like he said, with the whole James Gunn thing. So maybe they're gonna stick to that. But if they ever did go back to making these movies again, I hope they go back to the New 52 type. That art style and the stories was a lot better. It was more heart to it, in my opinion. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'll put this video in the description below. I'll check y'all later.